to cut red tape for builders. Now this.
Gene Hackman has played a cop, a coach, a gangster reporter, a soldier. Tonight he plays TV guest on Nightlife.
Tonight at 11:30 on TV8.
The weather, partly cloudy through the weekend with highs Saturday and Sunday around 40 degrees. We'll be back at 6. Now CBS.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. More bombshell accusations today about President Reagan's arms for Iranians policy and what the Tower Commission report due out next week will say about Mr. Reagan's role. Some of the latest accusations concern charges of lying and a cover-up, accusations that high White House aides tried to doctor facts and distance President Reagan from what the public would know about the mess. White House correspondent Bill Plant has some advance word on what the Tower Commission will say and some bombshells that may never come out in public.
The Tower Commission has now all but completed its report, which criticizes the way President Reagan and Chief of Staff Donald Regan handled the Iran-Contra affair. But sources tell CBS News that the real bombshells in the scandal and subsequent attempts to cover it up focus on the actions of other officials, particularly John Poindexter and Oliver North. An official says the report, based in part on National Security Council computer files, is expected to show that former National Security Advisor John Poindexter deceived the president all the way through, and that fired NSC aide Oliver North was in fantasy land. As the arms deal was revealed, say these sources, the computer files show White House aides and former National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane scrambling to protect the president, revising their chronology of events several times to distance Mr. Reagan from the decision to send arms to Iran. The president, departing for Camp David, seemed unconcerned when asked about the Tower report.
I don't know.
The big question is how much material will be made public. For the last 2 days, the chronology section of the report has been reviewed for security purposes by representatives of the CIA, National Security Council, and other agencies. Commission sources tell CBS News that so much material may be deleted that the panel might decide not to release the chronology, but give it to the president instead and let him decide whether to make it public. The White House, wanting to avoid that, says it has sent a representative to the commission to work with the security review panel to urge them to classify as little as possible. Mr. Reagan seems determined to weather the storm.
The going may be a little rough at this moment, but let no one doubt our resolve.
Sources now tell CBS News that Chief of Staff Donald Regan, at odds with the First Lady and under fire from the president's friends, will be leaving soon, within the next 10 days or so. The White House is waiting only so that his replacement can be named at the same time. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
It turns out that while President Reagan was secretly providing arms to the Ayatollah Khomeini, some of his close assistants also were secretly plotting to kill Libya's Muammar Gaddafi and planning kidnappings in Lebanon. We have 2 reports, first from Rita Braver.
CBS News has learned that within the past few weeks, the Reagan administration considered and abandoned a plan to snatch TWA Flight 847's hijackers out of Beirut. Sources emphasize the proposal was at a very early stage. It would have relied on intelligence collected by the U.S. Marshals, who track fugitives around the world. The idea, said to be supported in principle by top Justice Department officials, including Attorney General Edwin Meese, was discarded as just too dangerous. One reason, Shiite Muslim Imad Mughniya, the U.S. officials allege masterminded the hijacking, is also a reputed leader of the group holding American hostages in Beirut. Justice Department sources say a similar proposal was also considered last summer, but that was rejected by then National Security Council aide Oliver North because of his negotiations to free the hostages. However, the administration is eager to grab terrorists under safer circumstances. Government sources say that in January 1986, President Reagan signed a secret order giving the CIA broad authority to kidnap fugitive terrorists. The White House had no official comment, but Secretary of State Schultz today reiterated U.S. desire to punish terrorists.
We have to see to it that the terrorists not only don't get rewards, they pay a price.
Still, the higher priority has been a mission to rescue the hostages. One intelligence source disclosed that last year, even the Syrians were asked to help. They said not more than half the hostages would come out alive. The idea was dropped. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Immediately after this attack on the headquarters of Muammar Gaddafi, the Reagan administration prepared a second, deadlier raid designed to get rid of Gaddafi once and for all. The raid would be launched if Gaddafi could be linked to another terrorist attack. Michael Armacost, the number 3 official at the State Department, urged the CIA to come up with better intelligence on Gaddafi's whereabouts. Among other things, the military planned to use B-52 bombers to attack Gaddafi's retreat at the southern oasis of Sebha. Aides to Oliver North screened a list of 50 potential targets, singling out the bases of military units loyal to Gaddafi and deliberately excluding units which might rise up and overthrow him.
At the same time the administration was making these plans to eliminate Gaddafi as a source of terrorism, some of the same officials were secretly negotiating with representatives of another well-known supporter of terrorism, Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini.
Administration attempts to get rid of Gaddafi began in the summer of 1985 when the U.S. offered Egypt's Hosni Mubarak American support if he invaded Libya. The plan called for Egypt to seize Libya's oil-rich eastern sector. American warplanes would provide cover for Egyptian ground troops. U.S. military officers never took this plan seriously, but the National Security Council staff drafted a speech for President Reagan to deliver on national television, announcing that the U.S. was coming to Egypt's aid.
The secret dealings with Iran blew up in the Reagan administration's face. The secret plans for attacking Libya remain on the books, although for the moment it appears the administration's war on terrorism has hurt Ronald Reagan more than it has Muammar Gaddafi. David Martin, CBS News, The Pentagon. After 5 days of total war in West Beirut, a few people ventured into the streets today to buy food and inspect damage from a battle that killed at least 150 and wounded 500. Syrian ceasefire patrols kept the peace in most areas, but there were still scattered clashes between leftist Druze fighters and the battered Amal militia. Druze leader Walid Jumblat met with the Syrian vice president, and later there were reports that thousands more Syrian troops will soon move into Beirut, possibly as early as tomorrow. Here in New York, a judge today sentenced the investment banker whose confession helped break open Wall Street's insider trading scandal. And with no sign that scandal is near an end, CBS News business correspondent Ray Brady reports it is attracting attention from where else? Hollywood and the pulpit.
He was the first one caught, and today Dennis Levine heard the sentence. 2 years in prison and a fine of $362,000.
I realized that I've committed very serious crimes for which I'm very sorry, and it was a very painful lesson to learn.
Levine's already paid back most of the more than $12 million he made in illegal insider trading in stocks. It was Levine who started dominoes falling on Wall Street. Once caught, he implicated 5 others and a financial giant, Ivan Boesky. Boesky fined $100 million, told on a stock trader and another giant, Martin Siegel, who in turn turned in 3 others. The widening scandal hasn't hurt the market, stocks hitting one new high after another. But it is raising fears among brokers that the government may step in, as it did in these hearings after the wild stock trading of 1929. Those brought in new laws to clean up Wall Street.
America's been fascinated by this unfolding tale of greed and corruption among the rich and powerful. And if that sounds like Hollywood, it soon will be. At least 8 producers are rushing to cash in.
The man who brought you Platoon now plans to film jungle warfare on another front, Wall Street. And coming next month on Dynasty, a new villain, an inside trader.
They love to watch the rich get it, okay? And I think maybe that's why people are interested in it.
Today, while Dennis Levine was being sentenced in court, in the church that towers over Wall Street, Father May preached about the sin of insider trading.
The insider trading scandal is, I think, a symptom of the sin in our own lives and in our own society. Amen.
The scandal is sure to bring still more prison sentences. Perhaps the reason attendance is rising here at Trinity Church, the church where stockbrokers pray. Ray Brady, CBS News, New York.
When we come back, how the Democrats are stacking up after Cuomo, and what's behind the threat of Old West violence in the New West.
In 1894, a 3-man research agency was created to test electrical wiring. In the decades that followed, It tested and set safety standards for products the world over. Its name, Underwriters Laboratories. Who created Underwriters Laboratories? You're going to be surprised. Your insurance company. We do a lot more than sell insurance.
Inspection! Are we clean?
Yes, sir.
How do we stay looking clean?
With automatic Vanish, sir.
Why automatic Vanish?
Sir, with automatic Vanish, every flush brings us more of that tough Vanish cleaning and deodorizing formula. No other brand can give you that.
Sound off!
Automatic!
Sound off!
Vanish! No other brand gives you that tough Vanish formula.
In private, there are other Vanish products you should know about. When you want to brush, use liquid or crystal Vanish. Their powerful formula cleans so well, you'll stand up to any inspection.
Yes, sir.
Echoes nationwide today from last night's political stunner that Mario Cuomo is out. The New York governor says he isn't seeking the 1988 Democratic presidential nomination. He said today he made his decision on instinct. CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton reports now on what makes Mario Cuomo not run and how it affects the ones who are.
He made the announcement on a local radio call-in show as if it concerned only New Yorkers.
The decision I've made, I think, is best for my state, best for my family, and I think also best for my party. I will not be a candidate.
In fact, this local announcement commanded national attention. Was it Cuomo's desire for privacy, bad notices after a trip to California, reluctance to spend a year on the road? Speculation shifted quickly from causes to effects. Does it help frontrunner Gary Hart?
As those who had listed him as their first choice make their own decisions about where they go, we hope that a substantial number of them will come in our direction.
But they may not. California Democrats at their recent convention listed Cuomo, not Hart, as their favorite. With Cuomo out, it won't be a two-man contest, and that may help the rest of the field.
The question now is who is going to be able to break out of the pack and sort of get to the position Cuomo was in, which was being able to challenge, if it's possible, to challenge Gary Hart.
It won't be Georgia Senator Sam Nunn, who will tell an Atlanta dinner tonight that he will not form an exploratory committee, the first step toward becoming a candidate. But there are several others.
You really can't make it because somebody else is or isn't running. I mean, this is something that really you have to make for yourself.
The dark horses, the unknowns in this race, are probably chances were enhanced to some extent by this move today.
Cuomo's decision may be good news for long shots. What with frontrunner George Bush sinking in Republican polls, it leaves both parties in a state of interesting confusion. Cuomo himself was in good spirits about his decision, making a joke this afternoon about a phone call he'd had from a political friend.
You know what happens when you die? I said, no. He says, 1, your hair continues to grow. 2, your nails continue to grow. And 3, your phone calls stop. Yeah. He says, I won't be calling you a lot. And that
the phones will be ringing in those other headquarters. Bruce Morton, CBS News, New York.
Tampa, Florida officials met today to talk about last night, a night of violence and anger by young black residents of the city. Bill Whitaker in Atlanta reports on what happened and what led up to it.
4 men were arrested today for the violence that erupted in this Tampa neighborhood last night. Some 200 young blacks threw stones at passing cars, looted stores, and lit fires.
A lot of people out in the street. Some have soda cans, some have glass bottles, some with bricks. They're just throwing at us, and we don't know.
The disturbance apparently was sparked by the death Wednesday of a black man who had been held in a chokehold by a white police officer.
We're asking all citizens to not take the law in their own hands.
Tampa's black community was further enraged by a report released yesterday that revealed police tried to use a chokehold on Mets pitching star Dwight Gooden when the athlete was arrested for a traffic violation last December. Today, Tampa's mayor went to the city's schools to appeal for calm.
What took place last night was not a positive step for you or your families or your community.
Relations between blacks and police in Tampa have been tense in recent months. Since November, 4 black youths have been shot by police. One of them was killed. Tampa's police chief has banned the use of the controversial chokehold and has ordered an investigation into Wednesday's death. Tonight, the community is calm. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Atlanta.
President Reagan today stood by his appointment of John Koehler to be the new White House communications director, but the president had his spokesman say Mr. Reagan was not aware that Koehler once, very young, was a member of a Nazi youth group in Germany. Koehler was 10 at the time, said he had no free choice at the time, and said he quit the group because he was, quote, bored. Koehler is a former executive with the Associated Press. He lashed out at journalists today for reporting his Nazi youth membership, and Koehler said reporters should also know his first wife and current wife are Jewish. Koehler is the replacement for White House aide Patrick Buchanan, the former Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew aide. 5 days after his release was first announced by a Soviet official, Jewish activist Joseph Begun was finally freed today. His wife and son traveled to meet the 55-year-old Begun as he came out of prison. They said he was in fair health.
At AT&T, not only do we use the latest technology, we invent it. Scientists at AT&T Bell Laboratories invented the transistor and built the first electrical digital computer, which helped to make AT&T the most advanced and reliable long-distance network in the world. Today, they're opening new frontiers with the use of lasers and photonics. But we know that all this means very little without this.
David, you sound wonderful.
AT&T, the right choice.
You know something? The way it runs and feels and everything? This Pontiac 6000 of mine is probably one of the finest road sedans of all time.
Oh, come on.
Probably.
Okay.
I did say probably.
Right.
Okay.
Tums doesn't have it. Rolaids doesn't have it. Maalox-Plus does. We have what you need for complete relief of excess acid, heartburn, and gas. Maalox for acid and heartburn, plus simethicone for gas. Get complete relief. Try Maalox-Plus.
At the United Nations tonight, the United States and Britain vetoed a Security Council resolution for worldwide economic sanctions against South Africa.
Thank you.
The vote, 10-3, in favor of the sanctions, but the vetoes killed the measure. Brazil is about to suspend interest payments on its huge foreign debt, most of it owed to U.S. and European banks. President Jose Sarney is expected to give details tonight in a nationally televised speech to Brazilians. Back in this country, a couple of unpleasant reminders. For one, farmers here cannot suspend interest payments. It's estimated that 180 times a day another American farm disappears. Bank failures, many of them farmland banks, rose 20% last year. Now, CBS News correspondent Frank Courier reports an arraignment today indicated that trouble on the land can turn into violence on the land.
Despair over unpaid ranch debts was too much, people say, for two Nebraska cattlemen. Brothers Eldon and Stanley Schlangle were arraigned today on charges of assaulting federal agents who were trying to foreclose on the family's livestock.
As far as I'm concerned, they had no business being there.
The brothers are accused of firing a shotgun and were arrested for threatening 6 officers from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
We're placing you under arrest now.
The agents were trying to repossess 150 cattle to settle debts at a nearby bank, which failed last year.
Violence will not be tolerated against federal agents.
My husband is not dangerous. He is not a violent person.
Terry Schlangle says the feds played rough because the brothers' debts total nearly $200,000 in an area that's seen 4 rural bank failures in 2 years.
The only reason this happened is because Stanley and Eldon have enough guts to stand up and fight for what they want.
Throughout Nebraska's rugged sand hills, cattle ranchers are feeling the strain, and the Schlangle brothers incident, they say, is just another example of desperation and the growing hostility aimed at the FDIC.
What these guys were doing, that wasn't frontier justice, that was frustration. When FDIC comes in, they just demand their money. You can't talk to them.
For its part, the FDIC says it always tries negotiation first, but its real mission is to protect depositors.
I suppose you don't understand the frustrations that people are going through, but you just don't go pull a gun on people.
While many of the scores of neighbors who support the Slangles disagree with using force, they also understand why it happened.
We're all ranchers out here. If you see a bunch of guys out in the middle of your pasture in the night, the one thing you think about is rustlers, stealing cattle.
The brothers, who have no prior criminal record, remain jailed without bond, facing tough penalties if convicted.
They can give him up to 5 years at the minimum. And he's got a 3.5-year-old little girl that he's going to miss out on a lot of her life.
Folks here think the government will go the limit to prosecute and make examples out of Stan and Eldon Schlangle to send an urgent law and order message out across a troubled rural countryside. Frank Courier, CBS News, Custer County, Nebraska.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of two cereals, both with 100% nutrition, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake? Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts? You're not alone. 3 out of 4 people picked Just Right over every other high vitamin cereal. There was no question of nutrition. It was simply a question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit or all grain.
The trick to lifting is use the legs, never the back. But after 8 hours of it, even I get sore, so I take Medipren.
Medipren has ibuprofen, the prescription ingredient recommended by doctors 2-to-1 over aspirin for body pain, including minor arthritis pain. And it's safer to your stomach than aspirin.
When you get paid by the hour, you haven't got time for the pain.
When your body hasn't got time for the pain, Medipren from the makers of Tylenol products.
Pope John Paul met today with the mother of the man who shot him. Mehmed Ali Agca's mother and brother showed up at the Vatican during the day without an appointment. The Pope granted her a private audience. He told her he had already forgiven Agca for his assassination attempt 6 years ago. Mrs. Agca, a Turkish Muslim, had visited her son earlier this week in an Italian prison. In Washington, the Commerce Department said today that Americans' personal spending took a record 2% plunge in January, following the auto-buying spree at the end of last year. That decline erased most of December's 2.2% increase, which had been the largest in 11 years. The report said personal income last month was essentially unchanged. But because of the new tax law, after-tax or disposable incomes jumped 0.8% during January. And if a product introduced today catches on, CBS News correspondent Richard Roth reports more than incomes will be disposable.
It's a battle for America's beachfronts, and also for amusement parks, and for urban street corners. Anywhere there's a shutterbug, there could be a skirmish. It's a war between the world's photo giants, and the winner ends up here, in the trash. Kodak and Fuji have come up with the same idea, cameras designed to be used once and thrown away.
I think that it is a niche that can serve a purpose, and an important niche, and those cameras that Kodak sells will have Kodak film.
The Kodak throwaway will use 110 film and sell for less than $7. The Fuji disposable camera, modeled after one that's already a big sales success in Japan, uses 35mm film. It was introduced here today and goes on sale in April for less than $10.
I think the concept of a disposable camera works very well in the American market. The American market, I think, is used to a lot of disposable type of products.
And except for indoors where there's too little light, the Fuji camera we tried worked. So we threw it away. Richard Roth, CBS News, New York.
Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think. Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. Introducing new all-natural Pam No-Stick Cooking Spray. It adds just 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or new all-natural Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
Mazda wanted me to tell you about their brand new 4x4, but I'd rather show you. I hammered this truck for days to see for myself just how good it really is. Bottom line, best 4x4 I've ever driven, period. Another real surprise was that Mazda's loaded up SE5 4x4 is priced close to the other guy's stripped down 4x4s. Now, if you ask me, that's worth jumping about.
Patient, dining table. Diagnosis, worn finish, no shine. Treatment, facelift.
Now there's a facelift for furniture. New form-based facelift, my secret for bringing dull furniture back to life. Facelift revives the shine without refinishing. In less than an hour, you can smooth away the wear and tear and lay down a bright new facelift finish that will shine for years to come. That's what form-based facelift is all about. Making your furniture look alive and beautiful again without major surgery.
A former chairman of New York University's anthropology department, once convicted of using his laboratory to make LSD and other illegal drugs, has been charged again, this time with attempted murder. The FBI said today that Dr. John Butner-Yanish sent Valentine's Day chocolates to the judge who sentenced him. The judge's wife ate 4 pieces and had to have her stomach pumped. The FBI says the poison could have killed her. The international war on drugs involves a lot of sophisticated people and machinery, but it also involves a lot of low-level grunts. Derek Blakely profiles one.
When we last checked in on Louisa, she had just begun her career as the sniffing swine of the Lower Saxony police, trained to root out illegal drugs wherever they're hidden. She joined the force in controversy. Just when young people stopped calling police pigs, suddenly there was one in the ranks. But the gamble paid off. On 2 occasions, Louisa uncovered stores of hashish buried in the woods, evidence that led to convictions. But no one could have predicted that this 290-pound wild pig would become an international celebrity.
How does it feel to be Germany's most famous pig?
Louisa's appeared countless times on West German TV.
Louise! Louise!
She sniffed out drugs for a Swedish TV audience, and she really hammed it up for the Japanese. But Louisa's crime-fighting career will soon be over. The police officer who lovingly trained her, Werner Franke, retires in June, and so does Louisa, to a nature park.
In 3 months, I go on pension, and there's no one to care for her.
Louisa's departure won't go unnoticed. She'll become an honorary member of the International Police Association. Then, as a pensioner at the tender age of 3, she'll be free to eat as much as she wants, run as much as she wants, and drink all the beer she can handle. For a German sow, that's hog heaven. Derek Blakely, CBS News, Hildesheim, West Germany.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow. Wherever you are, be there. We'll see you Monday.
Let me just run that through the computer for you, sir. Hey, you know I was all set to go tarpon fishing in Tampa? But no. Piedmont starts offering these incredibly low fares. And the next thing you know, they need extra help in reservations. Now, to take advantage of these incredibly low fares, you have to buy your tickets in advance. And I'm telling you, these planes are filling up fast. So you better call Piedmont or your travel agent today. Yes, sir. You just got the last seat on that flight to Tampa. That could have been my seat.
Give me some raspberry.
You'll go wild over Riuniti Royal Raspberry. The taste of raspberries and natural Riuniti, not a watered-down cooler. And try Natural Peach.
Aspirin was introduced in 1899. Tylenol in 1955. Today there's Advil. 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular-strength Tylenol or 2 regular aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
From Pella Windows and Doors, the Sunrise Bow Window.
Pella.
The magical window nook.
Pella.
The Bubble Bath Skylight.
Pella.
The Sunday Paper Sunroom.
Pella.
Pella makes your home a better place to live, and we'll show you how. Come and get your free idea book, only at your Pella window store. We're listed in your telephone directory.
This is CBS.
The TV8 News, live at 6. Next.
Folks, Stivers Lincoln Mercury now has low mileage 85 Ford LTD starting at $49.88. If you should decide to take advantage of bank rate financing, just put $288 down, cash or equal trade-in, and pay $135.33 per month. $49.88 or $288 down and $135.33 per month. As always, if you're looking for price and selection, which now includes Saturday service, visit Stivers Lincoln Mercury. We're at 11th and Locust downtown and also at 4730 Merle Hay Road, just south of the interstate.
If you're trying to make a buck, go